under one of the busiest bridges in Lagos, Nigeria, a place where millions of people walk by every day. But they never knew that under their feet, there was a man hiding the darkest secret of all time. By day, he looked harmless, a poor half-naked madman shouting at strangers. People pitied him, some laughed at him, most people ignored him. But by night, that same bridge became a house of horror. Smoke would rise from his hidden place carrying strange smell, and people thought it was just a smell of roasted animal. But nobody imagined the worst. Until one morning in February 1999, a woman screamed from beneath the bridge. That single cry would later expose a nightmare that shocked the entire nation. This is a terrifying story of Clifford Orji, Nigeria's first known serial killer. It's a story so unbelievable but true and still haunts Lagos until today. Stay with me as I unveil the secrets of a madman who had the most connections in Nigeria. My name is Prince Theophilus and this is Fame and Fallout. To understand the story of Clifford Orji, let's go back to the very beginning. Clifford Orji was born around 1965 in Enugu, Nigeria. We don't actually know much about his childhood, but as a grown man, he moved to Lagos in the 1990s. At first, Clifford Orji sold razor blade on the streets, and later he called himself a native doctor, a kind of spiritual healer. Shortly in this story, I'll tell you the secret of him being called a native doctor or a spiritually. This man had no real home. He lived under a flyover bridge in Oshodi, Lagos, in a small shack made of tires and wood. People in the area thought he was just a crazy man. Sometimes, he walked around half naked, shouting and acting mad. But that was a trick. He pretended to be insane so no one would suspect what he was really doing. At night, people passing the bridge often smelled roasted meat coming from his hiding place. But nobody really cared. They thought it was just food. But later, it was discovered that something far more horrifying was happening there. On the morning of February 3rd, 1999, something tragic happened. In the early hours of the morning, a man named Joseph Bello was coming back from vigil. He was singing as he walked by, and as he was passing through the area where Clifford used to hide, someone was singing along with him. It was a female's voice, but the voice was in distress. It was almost like she was crying for help. He was surprised because that place was lonely, and it was very early in the morning, and it doesn't look like a place where someone would be living. So out of curiosity, he decided to check. The voice was coming from under the flyover bridge, but he was determined to see the woman that was singing, so he moved closer. As he moved closer, he perceived smell of what seemed like a burning meat. And as he moved further, he saw a shelter made of car tires and wood. And the smoke was coming from the shelter as if someone was cooking there. Still determined to know where that strange smoke was coming from and the person that was cooking, he continued going further. At this point, he just wanted to satisfy his curiosity. But as he peeped through into the shelter, what he saw shocked him. He saw evidence of human remains being roasted on the fire. Even a police helmet was lying on the ground. Bello raised an alarm, calling passerby to come and see what he had seen. And people gathered. They rushed into Clifford's shack and saw everything. But at that time, Clifford was not there. Maybe he went to buy something, nobody knew. But when Clifford came back and saw the crowd gathered, he ran. He tried to escape, but the angry crowd ran after him and caught him. When they dragged him back to his shack, they found something even more shocking. A woman was there, still alive, lying weak and starving. Her name was Awawulawa. It looked like she'd been kept there for months because she was very malnourished. Clifford kept her there waiting for her turn to be the next victim. Sadly, she was rushed to the hospital and she passed away shortly after. The crowd beat Clifford badly, but the policemen arrived just in time to save him from being killed on the spot. After Clifford's arrest, people turned their attention to another man that used to live under that bridge. Clifford was often seen with another man named Tahiru Aliu. Suspecting he was an accomplice, the crowd pulled down his shelter too, and they found a deep pit about 4 meters down, hidden under the floor. It looked like a dungeon used to keep victims before they were harmed. This confirmed that Clifford was not acting alone. This man, Aliu, was also caught by the mob and handed over to the police as Clifford's partner. That nightmare under the Oshodi bridge was finally exposed. A hidden den where innocent people were trapped and killed every day. When the police searched Clifford's den, what they found was like an horror movie. Human remains were discovered, women clothing of different sizes, a mobile phone very rare in 1999. At that time, owning a mobile phone was like having gold. Let me take you back a bit. In 1999, mobile phones were rare luxuries in Nigeria. A simple Nokia handset cost over 20,000 naira, and a SIM card alone could go around 50,000 naira. That would be approximately 1 million naira or more considering inflation. And in dollars, that's about $650 today. Not camera phone, just ordinary phone like this one. In those days, having a phone meant you are definitely not ordinary. The only people that used to use phone in 1999 were rich, influential people or politicians. They also found a check of 80,000 naira. That's approximately 1.8 to 2 million naira or more today. That's about $1,000 and above. This thing shocked everyone. How could a homeless man pretending to be insane have money, a mobile phone, and a check? The only thing people could believe was wealthy people were secretly paying this man for human body parts to use for dark rituals. Some neighbors also said they used to see expensive cars stopping under the bridge at night. These people believed that Clifford Orji was not only harming people for himself but also supplying them to others. That means he was in the business of selling humans. The place where he lived soon got a nickname, Clifford's Kitchen. People even came from different parts of Nigeria to see that spot. Newspapers, radio, and TV carried the news every day. For weeks, Clifford Orji was the most talked about man in Nigeria. After the arrest, Clifford confessed. He spoke without shame. He said he has been involved in this dark art for years. He confessed that him and his accomplice had been doing this business since 1992. That means they have been unaliving people for 7 years before they were caught. Now imagine how many loved ones had been taken. They don't just unalive people, but they feed on their remains. People said they saw him eating meat. They thought it was just ordinary meat. They never knew that those meat were human remains. Now you wonder, how does he trap his victim? I'll tell you, this is how he trapped his victim. He acted like Madman so people would not suspect him. Sometimes he claimed to be a native doctor who could help people spiritually. So he used being a native doctor to trick the poor. So the poor people that are looking for help, he lured them into his chamber, and from there he unalived them. When they came to him for help, he would unalive them and sell their remains. He targeted young women who sold goods on the street. He would call them closer pretending to buy something, then unalive them. According to him, he said he used strange powder to confuse them. After blowing the powder on them, they would follow him quietly. Once they enter his shack, he would assault them and weaken them until they could not resist. He worked together with his accomplice. Clifford said he was a butcher and the other man was a hunter who helped capture victims and bring them to him. Clifford also admitted that while some remains were kept with him, others were taken away by his partners. After he was caught, Clifford Orji was taken to court. People expected quick trial and punishment, but that never happened. Police and prison officials said Clifford was mentally unstable. He was sent to Kirikiri maximum prison and sometimes to Yaba Psychiatric Hospital. Reporters said he was not well. Sometimes he would be living in very poor condition, often naked and completely out of touch with reality. For 13 years, he stayed in prison without proper trials. Family of the victim never saw justice. Clifford himself even filed a lawsuit in 2012 saying that the government kept him in jail for too long without trial. But before anything could happen, Clifford Orji died in prison on August 17, 2012 at the age of 46. The prison said he died of natural causes. Even after his death, many questions still arises. Who gave Clifford Orji a check and a phone? Who were the wealthy people visiting him at night? What happened to his accomplice Ali? How many lives were truly lost through him? Because Clifford never faced trial, nobody knows the truth. Some people said he was just a madman. Others believe he was part of a big ritual network involving powerful people. Now, here are my questions. How come the police were unable to trace the person that gave him that check? Because I believe the check should have a name and a bank. Secondly, was he really mentally unstable after the arrest, or it was a trick not to expose his customers? Because I believe the powerful people behind him deliberately make sure he's kept in custody till his death. Because if he dares speak, many names will be exposed. So this man committed such a huge crime and justice was never served. The case was pushed down the shelves. The story of Clifford Orji left a deep scar on Nigeria. To this day, Nigerians remember the man who lived under a bridge and carried out unimaginable acts. The bridge at Oshodi is still feared and sometimes called Clifford Spot. A man accused of such terrible crime died without being tried in court, and the victim's family never get closure. Today, Clifford Orji's name is mentioned whenever people talk about ritual killings and crime in Nigeria. He is remembered as Nigeria's first known serial killer in the history. His case also showed how weak the justice system was. A man accused of such terrible crime died without being tried in court, and the victim's family never get closure. If you like stories like this, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the bell button so you don't miss other amazing stories like this one. And also, you can click the link in the description to watch more story about fame and fallout. Thank you for watching.